Whoa, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Yeah. Alright. Earlier today, did this link, and we'll just continue on with our link drawing marathon. That looks like it's going decently well. Feel better if we're on this one by next week. We are moving at a glacial pace. I've been busy, but today we'll do our best. Of course, I can barely see what's happening in this one. This is the original. This is like Link in the forest village of these moblin creatures. I think that's what they're called, or Hinox, or Hinox. They are, bad guys in the latest Zelda games, and he's got his hands full. This is like stereotype of like Indiana Jones escaping with all the tribes people chasing after him or something, Yo! Ayo Max Cat Jam. What's Cat Jam? And welcome. What are you doing up so late? Let's see. What did I do with my stylus? Here it is. Okay. So it's like it's like you're saying Shazam, expecting like lightning bolts to come down, and then it just doesn't happen. And that's part of your shtick too. That is charming. Jam. Did I pronounce it right? Is that how you do it? Man, look how even this small brush. Did I do this right? Here, let's see here. Yeah, that's the way. Oh, that's fun. Are you talking about my brother when you refer to Johnny? I'm not. I call him by his handle, Boxer, while I'm twitching. Figured that was the etiquette, but or it's like, I suppose he could be lurking right now. He could show up and let us know his preference. I saw him today. I regularly see my bro, and he looks great. And I hope you're great. You must have worked with him or hung out with him a bunch in IRL, in real life, right? Fellow coworker in Seattle. Now it's all making sense. But this drawing is wrong. I'm on autopilot. I'm just like drawing like ahead. It has to be like a fight for fight for your life, Link. Has to read from like half a mile away. This is a little closer to what I was thinking. Did my bro stream today? Were you checking out his streams? And you can tune in just for me. I'm curious. Of course he did. Good, I'm glad. Ah, my streams are chill. I do appreciate the positive feedback. I like knowing that my streams are chill. It's because I'm so old and tired and like empty of energy. I need to figure out here. This kick light will help. It's not plugged in. The children run me ragged. They really do. This'll. There you go. There you go. Now I'm good looking again. Beavers. I tried to do all the fancy lighting, but the underlighting was killing me. But this is good. I'll take this. Oh god, I'm glad it's a vibe. I like being a vibe. I was worried I was like a cringe. I can still be cringe, and that's okay. If the vibe and the art are good enough, anything else about it can be cringe. Cringe is the new vibe. What is the volume of the music to your satisfaction? Should I turn it up? Should I turn it down? Should I turn up my mic? Solid volume. Good. You know, I'm kind of getting the hang of this over time. I love that. Hey, I'm getting the hang of this. It's like a 80s, 90s trope. Hey, I could get used to this. Dude, my drawing here is suffering a little bit. It works as a rough where there's like no defining information. But here I'm trying to the Twitch Sherpa. He is a Twitch Sherpa. He totally you know, the Sherpa, I hope Sherpas don't mind us calling them Sherpas. I've never met a Sherpa, but it's like, you know, I hope it's not like their word for slave or something, you know. It's like, I hope it means like trusted guide or something like that. But the Sherpa analogy is apt. It's good. He is a good trusty resource. And I very much I know you Seattle folk miss his vibe. What's the John Love Fest? We all love John. Man, I'm forced to just guess what makes sense. Who'd have thought the drunk version of me that sketched this out took a bunch of shortcuts. It isn't so much that I made like this undecipherable map in this sketch or anything like that. It's just, you know, this was shorthand for something that was clear in my mind at the time, but now I'm realizing I'm going back and like trying to recall a conversation with myself like months after the fact. It's like I don't remember what my intention for, you know, certain details or indications here. It's like if you've ever had like an interesting dream and you're like, I'm gonna write it down, so you write it down, you go back to bed, and you look at it in the morning, you're like, this isn't interesting. Did I remember it wrong? Is it like, did I take a bad note? Like boring? You're a video editor. Very cool. You know, a long time ago, I actually did some video editing too, but it was on wedding videos. That was my very first job, was a assistant videographer for a wedding video studio. What? What was I thinking? Who the fuck did this? Yeah, but then sometimes you wake up and you're like, this is gold, you know? Like, I knew I was brilliant. Happens to me. Things to aspire to. All of this was like done in a stuporous haze. I'm actually sober, mostly sober right now, so just in a like right now kind of vibe. But it is it's a theme on these. But you would know that if you've been checking in on these streams, that the you know, I'm part Sherpa. I'm part art Sherpa and shaman, so this is if you're editing at 2 a.m., no good can come of it. I mean, that's probably true of editing. I definitely cut off all these by midnight, right? Because I don't typically try to draw too much past midnight, although it is midnight right now. So look at this cool stuff. All done under the influence. This one I know is going to be my favorite. This one. Or this one. Or this one. We'll get there. When you edit, do you have to work in the studio, or can you manage that remotely for your work, or I don't know, for your work? Edit and produce freelance now. Porn, got it. Just kidding. Not wedding videos, I hope. Okay. I got my editing experience when Final Cut Pro was in version 1.0. I remember that disc. Old firewire cables and all that stuff. That's how old I am. This link face is definitely suffering from some marvelitis. That's a little better. Final Cut Pro 7. I think the last one I used was Final Cut 4. Cheese grater Max. I remember those. Fuck, I had one. State of the art, yeah. That's interesting. A long time ago, I used to be a Apple service technician. So before there were Apple stores, Macs were sold by independent resellers, and I used to sort of have a niche operating in that space for companies that were selling the newfangled like Firewire hardwire setups. Like people, they would sell Avids, and then they would sell Avid like Final Cut machines, which were like undercutting the Avids and stuff like that. That was all happening when I started to get interested in computers and as far as like hardware and stuff like that, and start to make my way in the world. Anyway, so do you know how like your younger memories like feel like they count for so much more because they happened when you were younger and everything was just so important back then? But like, I feel like I've been an artist, a professional artist, about as long as I've been like a computer repairman and a like wedding video editor, even though that whole span was just a span of 3 years that happened over 20 years ago or something like that. So I don't know why, but it's like they're like, oh, editing. Oh yeah, I know a lot about editing. I don't know much about editing really in any professional sense, but I have an affinity for the concept of being an editor. So that's It was the Macs ran the special hardware, or they there was something about the Mac hardware that they were able to like do something especially good with it. What that was, I don't know. Yeah, that would make sense. The Avid machines were brutally expensive. That was their downfall, was they were extremely greedy about it. Apple probably knew. I mean, Avid was probably being so greedy. They probably went to Apple and said, yeah, unless you like give us free computers, we're going to switch to PC, and no one will have any reason to buy your computers at all. And Apple probably figured, hey, if you're going to fuck us, why don't we just come up with our own stupid software that runs on our computers, and we'll cut you out by charging a tenth of your price, because we don't need fancy hardware as much if we have amazing codecs. And all the codecs that were being described at the time were leading to the world that we live in now. Compression solved a lot of fucking problems on reflection. That's not a good link face. Let's look at the original. Yeah, dude, let's just start over. This makes so much sense. Now I know. Don't work when I'm working my day job. Ripping copies. Yep. Man, so being a like a Mac tech, I was like a guy that, so like literally I would be the guy that like installed like a fully turnkey Final Cut Pro system onto a computer system and then delivered it to like a place like Digital Domain, for instance. You know, be like, oh, got your computer delivery. Like old school. I didn't even know what Digital Domain was, but for instance, I believe that's known as James Cameron's, you know, Industrial Light and Magic, you know, version. That's his thing. But yeah, that was. It's also trippy. Yeah, that was like a thing that I would do. So I would have like every single install disk for everything. It's like I had copies of like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of software that within a year would like be worth nothing because it was outdated. You know, they had like OS 10 sticking around. Turns out they've got some sort of plan with this new operating system to change everything. And I don't even know if, like, does Apple even give a shit about Final Cut Pro anymore? I don't remember them talking about it much. Did they make iMovie too powerful? Or they just, like, don't care? They have Final Cut X, okay. And that's, like, more like Avid, if I recall. Something like that, right? There's just too much going on in these drawings, and I'm trying to like render all of it. So I need to just think in like simpler chunks right now. Final Cut. Oh yeah, I think I remember some of these details in the controversies. Basically, they're like stripped it down. My dad was a big Final Cut guy, but I think he uses After Effects now, or Adobe Premiere or something. The squint eye. You're an avid apologist. Huh. you're apologizing for Avid, and when you should be apologizing to Avid for pirating their software when you were in high school, with or without your teacher's permission. But that's just a joke. I can't imagine what an Avid would cost now, or is it your experience that Avid mellowed out with its pricing and it's like realizing it needs to, get real? Is it still like the most expensive option, or is there another option? Let's see here. Yeah, 1,200. It's I think it was like $4,000 or something like that in and we're talking like just the software. So that would have been in like the year 2000 or something like that. $1,200 is like reasonable sounding, at least. Is Da Vinci the best? I hear it like bandied about in conversation like it's obviously super expensive. Does it do everything? Do you know what like Flame is and Nuke and stuff like that? Are those like, is that like Shake? Do you remember Shake? When I got out of the Apple computer game stuff, computer repair, I got out of the game of Apple computer repair, was when Apple had acquired Shake. So that is the Shake. If you remember Shake, then you can remember like right about when Max said, I'm gonna try and become a professional artist instead. Black Magic so I could get a free copy of Resolve. Color grading. It's grating on my nerves how much I hear about color grading. Black Magic had a proprietary codec and capture card. The Kona card being one that still haunts my nightmares as something I needed to know what it did and why 8-bit was better than, or no, it could do 10-bit real-time capture or something like that. Oh my god. And I didn't know what real-time capture, it's like in order to like sell these Final Cut systems, like these guys just pretended they knew everything. Kona was king when but it was like $8,000 or something like that in the year 2000. I can remember so few people actually buying them, which was a relief to me because I didn't understand the technology or like why why is that so important? And you can't just use like a firewire cable or something like that. It's like I didn't understand that, like we were talking about getting the computer off of like the it needed to be like transferred properly to a system that couldn't that like had no means of like receiving the data at the speed it was necessary to send it or something. It's like, oh, just absolutely nuts. I'm like so glad I didn't have to deal with that for the rest of my life. It just felt like math. I don't know discrete mathematics. I remember that kind of stuff, patching and cabling, and all the old timers that I worked with knew what they were doing. They're like, yeah, it's easy, it's like whatever. They were like, their mentality was like the same mentality of like a guy, like a lineman, the guys that go up like the power poles and like fix the telco cabling and stuff like that. You know, it's just like, but it's like, hey, when you're not like immersed in it and you know what you're doing, like that stuff is like rocket science. To me, all this was like fucking impossible. It's like, what am I gonna do? Like, I wasn't like quick with it. I wasn't picking it up. Whereas like with like art and drawing and stuff like that, usually it's like, oh, that looks like a cool technique, and I'll like study it for a minute, and then I'm like, cool, I got it. So I had to know when to give up. Giving up is good. You have to stubbornly chase. For no reward, at least. Jeez. I don't know if we those arms need one. There we go. You've got my brother's face in your as a emoticon. It sounds like you have you had a chaotic organization to your bay. Bay. All that stuff was like above my pay grade. Mostly what I did was install software and then replace hardware that broke. You know what I remember is installing RAM or hard drives in those old Macs, even the cheese grater ones, and actually especially all Mac Pros, or Power Macs as they were known, were especially brutal to work on when installing. Most of the systems that I interacted with were like brand new. And so like their machining was very, anybody, I mean, I guess it's normal. It's like you get a new machine, you instantly upgrade it, right? So you're installing RAM or taking out RAM, like unseating RAM that's already on the motherboard. It would be fucking jammed in there because it's like all the machining is fresh and it's like, everything's got like molecularly like rigid edges. It's like bonding to things. And so you'd yank the shit out, and like it would take such force, you'd like smash your hand into the other end of the computer, and of course all the innards and guts of a computer are also like freshly milled and hard edged, and I just remember having so many cuts on my fucking knuckles. You had an intern. You had like, did they like get you coffee? And like you string them along, like after you get that coffee, I'll tell you about the Kona days. Were those the good old days, or was John's time with you the good old days? Yeah, I remember life sort of sucking during those old jobs. That's good to hear. I'm so heartened to see that and meet, see that my bro had such good friends. It's giving up a lot coming back. You know, I've realized. Johnny Maruda? No, I don't know if that. Is that an inside joke involving my bro? Japanese deli. Johnny Maruda. That's funny. Oh, that's great to hear. The mayor. Oh my gosh. Agent 12. You know, I've been hesitant to bring. I was like, would I embarrass it? If I, you know, because the last thing I did a lot of. Well, I didn't do a lot of it, but you know, I've done my fair share of older brother teasing of John, and I have no. John's such a cool guy. I have no interest in doing anything but uplift. But you know, I like teasing is a must. Well, no more than he deserves. I think he would agree with that. That if I do it, I don't overdo it these days. But the because I'd hate to actually hurt his feelings. You know, it's like no, he wouldn't deserve that. And I can't say the same about me. You know, for instance, but you know, I'm glad we get along so well. Feels like this arm just is never gonna get right. But I gotta figure it out. You know what? It's just gotta go like this. I just gotta move this hand. That'll basically be okay. Yeah, it doesn't need to be much. Johnny Maruda. Johnny Maruda sounds like an alias you'd hear on Miami Vice. If you understand the context, like that old police show. That's funny. I'm sure my he was a, you know, it's like it's so funny because it's like if Agent 12 had happened like it feels like it's like I assume you've seen it, and so it's also sort of like it was just sort of like didn't people like become world famous for stupid stuff like that like years later, you know, kind of a thing. It's like sort of waiting to be revived, waiting to be rediscovered. This mouth, how did I get away with that? So wrong. Them. Okay, yeah, you've seen them. Well, do you have a... Well, actually, I'm not even sure if I still have a poster. I'm sure somewhere we have posters. Saving the world is a young man's job. I helped edit and do some compositing on those. On those, I basically gave my dad a very cursory tutorial to get him started with Final Cut, and I helped him out on some more complex compositing stuff. But I definitely did some work on the original Agent 12. Well, my dad got really good at that stuff pretty quickly too. This is a tough move. Tough angle to draw anything. Maybe that's better. sleep on that. It's a little... like this mouth now. I'm so glad he's streamed his Agent 12 stuff. That's awesome. When I mean, all that was like done well before like YouTube was a real, like it was put on YouTube well after they were done. For instance, back when no one knew back before like Google bought YouTube, for instance, you know, it's like so long ago you'd never but you can remember those times, you know. I'm like trying to like, I'm posturing like I'm like the sage of time on top of the mountain. You've quested for my knowledge about what was like 3,000 years ago. It's like, no, you remember this stuff. Okay, this just needs like a sword hilt. It's amazing how much like the sort of like comfort level of your average person entering like, you know, the sphere of media. I'm just sort of like, it's the biggest it's just crazy to think about like it's just weird like how the world was organized in terms of like consumption of media before and after. Like now it's like physical media isn't even like, I mean, it's like, yes, it exists kind of a thing, but it's like it's just like streaming is the only thing. And like even like my young children like understand it's like, oh, it's like, you know, are you gonna stream it or are you gonna download it? Like my like little kids like understand the distinction. So to like be able to like remember and appreciate what things were like in the Stone Ages of you did a Gumby, so that's an animation, so you were like animating even. You must have been at a decent film school. Unlisted links. What do you mean? Oh, I know what you mean. Like for review. Like, hey, I need to send you a file. I'll just make an unlisted link on YouTube and you can check it out. That's basically what you're saying, right? Forgive me for pointing it out, but that would breach, especially Google's terms of service. But I mean, don't you have to sign NDAs and do, you know, I mean, just between us, you know, the rest of the world, you know. But it's kind of a smart way of doing it. I mean, assuming like nothing bad ever happens. Not that like Google would give a shit, but it's sort of like I don't know if that would be best practices. Like, oh, here's how we handle client files. Shit, you just doxed yourself. No, I'm just kidding. The good. And I'm not even really advocating for secrecy anyway. It's just sort of like I'm always amazed when I see like other artists like posting their work, or when I'm just like they gave you permission for that? Probably not, you know. It's like all the cool stuff I'd love to be able to like post on social media, but then I'm like, there's not I don't know, there's a good chance I might get some backlash from it from a client, so better just steer clear until it's way past the point of freshness and nobody cares. Then I can post it. This sketch is looking decent. Jump splash. All right, decent. Okay, this one is going to be too LTO. Is that like return to office? LTO. I'm yawning. And it's past midnight, and I got 2 links drawn, so. Ooh, where'd that one go? There he is. Let's look at our links. Archive format, okay. These are gonna be fun to draw. Ooh. Is it like super redundant? Why would it be so slow? Robust and secure, but ungodly slow. So it's like one of those like tape reel things. Tape based, yeah. Never had to deal with that. It's like, we've got this great way to store data. It's really robust and secure. It's great. Solves all of our problems. There's just one hitch. KJ. Can I call you KJ? Or should it be The Wicked? Or Wickmaster? KJ Maruda. Or how about Cajun 12? Cajun 12. I love it. Yes. Small. My brother and I's senses of humor are a little similar. You'll probably sense some of that. And him and I were raised on the same amount of British comedy, Simpsons, you know, weird stuff. So cartoons and such. So I'll occasionally spurt with brilliance, my eloquence. So Cajun 12, thank you for doing a young man's job and staying up late and saving the world. For anybody else that might be listening, thank you for joining. And tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I will not be streaming. I will be working an actual job tomorrow, so wish me luck. And then gets into Friday. Oh, Thursday, I got a party to go to. No stream that day. Or maybe no stream that night. Maybe that day. I don't know if I'm working yet. And same thing on Friday, but you know, let me ease back in. 2 streams in one day. I might have overdone it, but this is still fun. All right, I will hopefully see you next time, whenever that may be. All right, vibes and pleasant music and sweet dreams. And till next time, I'm saying Cajun 12.